Vsauce, Kevin here with a math crime so sinister that the Michigan Supreme Court stated no other game operated more extensively or demoralized so many people. City police forces repeatedly shut it down, and the FBI waged all-out war against it, and it made criminals out of people like a Detroit mom named Miss Fanny. What they didn't know is that they were fighting against a nearly perfect game that was about way more than just beating the odds. In Atlanta, it was called Playing the Bug. In Harlem and elsewhere, it's still called Policy after the original game that drew numbers from 1 to 78. But the real name is just Numbers. And although it was associated with Black communities, everyone played the numbers. When Fannie Davis set up her Detroit neighborhood numbers game in 1958, there just wasn't much economic opportunity for the Black community, so she started her own business. And she funded it after winning big on numbers herself. It worked like this. You'd place a bet on a 3-digit number from 000 to 999, and that could hit one of two ways. You could play it straight, where you hope to hit the exact number, like 607, and you'd be paid 500 or 600 times your bet. Or you could bet a number boxed, meaning you'd win if any combination of your numbers hit. That's 3 factorial, so 3 times 2 times 1 equals 6 possible combinations, and it would pay about 80 to 1. Okay, so how did they choose the winning number? I've got a cage full of balls, numbered 1 through 100. I'll give this a crank, and then I'll draw 3. I'm gonna play 394. That's my lucky number because 394 was Tony Gwynn's batting average in 1994 when he was on pace to hit over 400 for the first time since Ted Williams hit 406 in 1941, but a labor strike shortened the baseball season and ruined everything. Okay, here we go. $32. I already lost. Oh, well, let's keep going. My cage of balls broke. Oh, man. Oh, I am a fool. Oh, there's so many on the floor. All right, let's finish this off. Stay closed. 86. Last number. 91. The winning number was 261. My number is 394. Sorry, Tony. But this method is silly. No one would trust a guy pulling balls out of a cage in his house. To get the winning number in a more fair manner, I could do something like take 3 YouTube videos, reload them each day on a live stream, and use the ones digit from the view counts to pick the winning number. And Fanny's game worked kinda similar to that. She used a mutual from a local racetrack, the betting totals for win, place, and show on a series of horse races. She'd take the ones digit from the 4th, 5th, and 6th race totals, and there's your 3 numbers. It was technically possible to influence those digits, but incredibly difficult and expensive. Other games used independent numbers like digits from the published daily balance of the US Treasury, things you could open up a newspaper and see. Look, here's the real beauty of numbers and why it worked so well for Fanny and her community. You win just often enough to enjoy playing and to validate every possible betting system. If you play 6 days a week, you'll probably win boxed 2 or 3 times a year, and you'll hit straight for 500 times your bet every few years. Did a number come to you in a dream? Do you think you have a scientific lottery-beating system? They all end up winning. And yeah, the house edge was steep. Getting paid 500 to 1 on something you know has a 1 in 1,000 chance of happening means someone's making money somewhere. They're also taking bets, keeping meticulous records, collecting money from losses, and distributing money from wins, all as they're calculating their own mathematical risk of ruin in real time to make sure they can survive financially if someone hits big. But for Fanny's neighbors, they could see $1 become $500 overnight. The FBI saw an opportunity to rip it away from them and give it to someone else. Law enforcement called the numbers game racketeering, and in 1970, the FBI led what J. Edgar Hoover called the largest gambling raid in history, shutting down 58 numbers operators. Then governments realized that if the House always wins, they could just become the House. States made numbers illegal, did their best to wipe it out, and then gave themselves a legal numbers monopoly. Wow, what a neat trick. Lotteries actually have a really complex history in the United States. From the colonial period to early statehood, hundreds of lotteries helped raise money for schools and public works. By the 1830s, lotteries were denounced by social reformers as morally bankrupt, predatory games that generated tainted revenue. And in 1895, lottery games were banned nationwide. From legal lotteries to policy houses, there was enough corruption and game fixing to consider what was best for the public interest. Now, 44 states have legalized lotteries, and the Powerball is played in all of them to help raise money for schools and public works. And we've come full circle. But the reality is, to run a game like Numbers, what you really need is the trust of your community. Fannie Davis and other boutique numbers operators engaged in a sort of prescient scholarship decades before neuroscience and psychology research confirmed what they harnessed intuitively. The community element of numbers was everything. They seized the power of Dunbar's number, building on the social cohesion in well-connected neighborhoods so everyone could play a game together, and that's completely lost when 100,000 strangers play a lottery anonymously at a gas station. They knew that throwing in just one additional number meant only hitting straight once every 30 years. That's probably once in a lifetime, and that's just not often enough for most people to want to keep playing, even if it increases the prizes dramatically. They intuited the communal strength of Rene Girard's mimetic desire and how much people love playing games together and need to. And they also knew how to make a small economy work. Numbers created tens of thousands of jobs within communities trying to survive in the face of discrimination, segregation, and rampant racism. A 1903 Detroit Free Press article said Numbers was largely the gambling field of the ignorant, superstitious, and poor. The main thing is to have the evil eternally wiped out. Lottery ban legislation was a patronizing attempt to protect communities from themselves. Now we've got Japan's Takarakuji, South Korea's Lotto 645, the US Mega Millions, and Russia's Goslotto, in addition to US state games that operate exactly like Numbers did decades ago. Pennsylvania even named their 3-digit lottery the Daily Number. But those games can't possibly do what people like Fannie Davis did in Detroit. There's no talk at the diner about who won that week or who hasn't hit in ages. There's no knock on the door to deliver your lucky payout the day after your numbers match. There's no playing 357 because you live at 357 Park Drive and everyone knowing that when that number hit, you were the winner. That's all gone. There's enough intrigue about Fannie Davis's life and her numbers game to fill a great docuseries, and there were thousands like her. Read Bridgette Davis's book about her mom. That's her story to tell, not mine. Check out Felicia George's dissertation about numbers in Detroit, or Louise Merriweather's novel, Daddy Was a Number Runner. You've heard a million stories about the good guys and the bad guys during Prohibition, but numbers stories like Miss Fanny's have been almost entirely ignored. But they shouldn't be, because alongside the rackets were people who understood the social fabric of their communities. making your own way in the world and making everyone else a little bit happier, that's not the American dream. That's everyone's dream. But the highly regulated mass production of fun strips the complex social function from a game that's the perfect blend of math and people. It's reduced to lonely, anonymous gambling. And when that happens, the only thing left is just numbers. And as always, thanks for watching.